called the poor of the flock. So then, in terms of qualitatively, who was the poor of the flock when the month started? Who got fed? Not given eternal life, fed. Who are they? They have to be people that in number are much smaller, but in quality are the same. Well, they're obviously the last who are alive who go first. Because if Christ didn't even get here, then he couldn't have raised anybody else. You haven't had the Great Supper yet. The poor of the flock have to be us. I just want to say this so it's clear. They're alive. They're the little flock. They sold all. That's one of the reasons they're physically poor.
Of course you're the little flock, Dave. It's a genius move, I must admit. You put your whole congregation in the Bible, not just yourself. That way they're going to get a little additional buy-in with that buy-in. I'm having a little fun here because there was no buying except on your part. It was all selling on the part of the brethren, and that is why they are poor, so that you can be rich, relatively speaking. You understand, of course, I'm just having fun here.
But spiritually rich, exactly like Smyrna. You're poor, but you're spiritually rich.
The only problem with that, Dave, is that spiritual riches are invisible. And the only way that we have them is by some sort of self-deception, particularly when we're talking about spiritual riches within your organization.
Now, this is just important. Do not lose sight of this. It has to be us. And then the next verse finally comes absolutely clear. And this is what's interesting. Let's just say this. 3 shepherds also I cut off in 1 month. So there's a group that's fed to start a month, not changed to where they look like Christ. It's finally clear. They are fed.
I doubt it's finally clear even for you. It's certainly not clear for your followers.
It's like you hit the 1335, you made it. You're good. You got a pledge. But then we don't know exactly when Christ comes. Yet a little while. A delay, just a delay. Now, these 3 shepherds also, it's like they're in that same time period. Or my soul loathed them, their soul also abhorred me. And the Hebrew means I grew impatient with them. These are shepherds who'd been around a while. Now tell me how those 3 shepherds, this is one of the problems, I can't explain it, but I'm just going to tell you. How do those 3 shepherds, just 3 of them, die when vast numbers are slain in the Great Supper? Way more than 3. Why does God single out 3?
Now tell me why you have suddenly lost the clarity on these 3 shepherds. My understanding was that they were supposed to be leaders of various churches of God who were all going to die at the same time. This was supposed to provide some sort of proof to all the members of the other splinters and slivers, as you like to call them. I'm having fun here. To come to your organization. I'm sure you could only imagine the wealth that would come rolling into the RCG coffers, which is to say into your pocket, once everybody was on board with common.
They can't die. If you read on down, you just get the context. They don't die in the day of the Lord. Way more shepherds die then, by far, in the day of the Lord than would die at the Great Supper.
Well, I'm just so disturbed that you are so amused by the fact that so many people are going to die in your little prophetic vision. The fact that you positively giggle like a little girl about the thought of all these people dying says more about you than I could ever say.
And there's certainly no reason for them to die during the kingdom. One of the things that I've wondered about, and I'm just going to explain to you, if my job is to tell you the things that are going to shortly come to pass, one of the things I cannot explain, I've never been able to explain it. Who are the three men who seem to die in 1 month? I'm not saying they die today, but the only way, the best men I know have looked at this, and they find no way they die at the Great Supper, during the kingdom, or the day of the Lord.
But Dave, you've already explained it. And that explanation proved false, like everything you say. I can't understand how you could possibly forget that, since you made such a big deal of it.
Are we waiting for this? Evil men from the past. Okay, before the day dawn, know this first. First. This is just a question. I'm not prophesying anything. I'm telling you that I'm going to explain this because I know we're the flock of slaughter.
You know you're the flock of slaughter. That is a Freudian slip if I have ever heard one. You are indeed the flock of slaughter. You are the typical shepherd. Think about what a shepherd does. He takes care of the sheep so that eventually they can be slaughtered.
I'm sorry, we're the poor of the flock. We're not the flock of slaughter. I know who that is. And it starts a month, and it's today.
I thought you weren't setting any more dates. I think you just did.
But here's this group in 2 Peter 1. Know this first. There'll be false teachers, and they're going to get swift destruction. Almost like before the saints come to this day when their hearts leap. That's the way it's written. First means first. Jude suggests the same thing. And maybe one or two other places. Are we going to go through a period where, fear not, you're fine, you're going to make it into the kingdom? But does God want to jolt the seventh era? I don't know who these guys are. I could speculate, but I just know, I know they're not 4 and they're not 2.
Dang, Dave, that was brilliant. I don't know who they are. I just know there's 3. So that means I know they're not 4 and they're not 2. You are so grasping for straws now that if it wasn't so tragic, the effect that this was having on people, it would be positively comic.
And maybe in some way they belong in the kingdom. I have not been able in 10 years to figure out how that is.
Honey, that's not the only thing you haven't been able to figure out. In fact, I don't think you figured out anything. I don't think you could figure out how to get out from behind that podium.
So are we waiting for Christ, or are we waiting for 3 guys to go away first? Ponder it, pray about it. If so, everybody would know, it wouldn't be a coincidence. I don't know how big they would die. I don't know who they are, but everybody would know it. There are, various candidates.
Oh, I have no doubt that you have 1 or 2 names in mind. I have no doubt that you have a number of men that you would like to see die publicly. I have no doubt that you've fantasized about it a number of times.
They're attached through the word also to feeding the flock. I don't see how they'd be people who were with us. Most of the people who are with us don't become ministers. They go back to the world. Some of them beat their fellow servants, but they go back to the world. You want to make money. Or now the splinters don't take him, won't recognize their credentials, their ministers.
Mark, I think he is really obsessed with you. He keeps talking about people who are beating fellow members, or whatever his little phrase there was. I guess it's some obscure passage from the Bible that he has latched onto. But he is clearly obsessed with you, buddy. You are really getting under his skin. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if you are one of those candidates he has in mind.
To read verse 8 any other way, but keep your eyes peeled, brethren. Keep your eyes peeled. Now, the 1335 is still what augments 1 month, start to finish, with feeding us today. I'm pretty sure all of you know I did not plan a message on Heshvan 1. I thought that, like you, I would look like Christ. Nobody can think I contrived a message for today.
If you think nobody thought, that nobody conceived, that nobody had any idea, any inkling that you would speak again, you are out of your ever-loving mind, as Greg Locke is wont to say. Everybody knew you were going to speak again. You knew you were going to speak again.
I thought we were done at the feast, and twice. And I've thought it many times before.
It's fairly astounding that you would mention this. You have just admitted to the long catalog of failures that precede this moment. And in doing so, you are inadvertently foreshadowing the long string of failures that will follow.
So the days of this man's voice, the mystery, they're done.
Bullshit.
Apparently, the poor of the flock are fed one last time when the time is near. Be sure you clarify the things in Revelation. I'll ask one last time, how many of you would look at the things I told you about how few die forever under the seventh head, and how all mankind has to face the devil, which makes our God equitable?
I'm not sure how this makes God equitable. I'm not sure why in your big plan anyone needs to face the devil. Why would a God do this? Why would a God make such a convoluted plan that is so hard to understand, so easily misinterpreted, so easily abused? Why would a God do that? The answer is simple. Clearly, no God did.
At the end of the millennium and say those weren't important to know. If you're a shepherd, you've got to be feeling humanly, because I'm constructing this. Yes! Very few fail. Yes! Think like a shepherd. God's will has been done. You made it to the 1335. The pledge is made on the, dare I say, the correct 1335. Then there's a delay of some time. I have no idea. I can make a case for Tuesday that's strong. I can make a case for Wednesday. The case for the Sabbath is strong, except it's holy time. And would it be at the beginning, at dawn, or at the end?
Of course you can make a case for it. When you're pulling shit out of your ass and stringing it together randomly with random passages chosen from books spanning the entire Old Testament and the New Testament, and you're mixing and matching them and throwing them together, of course you can make anything logical. You can make a case for anything.
Because now we touch a day, God can come at any hour, day or night, anywhere in the world. It's all bets are off as to when this would be. I can make a case that it's at the end of the Sabbath, which is the 5th, which is a Sunday, and God starts the marvelous work and wonder on a Sunday, and we wait all the way till Sunday. Monday night's Halloween. I have no idea when it is or any hour in there. It's just, bang, he's coming as a thief.
I know a few people who can make the case that you will be doing this for as long as your followers support you in doing this. I hope that is not long, but I fear it's probably longer than any sane person would wish.
You heard this loud voice, and you saw that. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see when it is. But I believe we're on the clock. Now, somebody's going to ask, could there be a 403?
I would bet everything I own that there's going to be a 403. I would take out loans in order to have money to put on there being a 403.
Meaning this is 402. I see no way. Now, let me explain why.
No, you dumbass. You don't have to explain why. We all know why. It's so you can get more money. It's so you can last a little bit longer. It's so you can stroke your ego just a little bit more. We all know why.
When would you do it later, and what would I cover? Well, you didn't know you'd cover things 3 days ago. You can always say that.
You can always say that. Well, I guess now you're having a little fun with yourself and your own words.
But I know the Bible pretty well.
Oh, that was good.
And I can't imagine, I mean, I can practically recite the book of Revelation and whole swaths of the prophets in my sleep. I don't even have to be awake. And I know them. I can do that. I don't know any other arena.
You don't need to be awake. Dave, you've been in this little prophetic, ego-stroking slumber for 7 years now. And of course you don't know any other way. This is all you know. This has become your world.
There are only 3 kingdoms. You're not going to add one. You're not going to change Heshvan. You're not going to change 7 years or 1,000 or the use of the devil or what's the bottomless pit. I mean, these are huge things.
I guarantee you are going to change every damn one of those within the next few weeks.
What would you cover, and how do you have time?
Don't worry, Dave. I'm sure you'll find the time. As far as what to cover, don't worry about that either. You or one of your minions will find something lodged somewhere deep in your colon.
The 30 days has to hold. It has to hold. I don't know. Maybe we would go beyond Halloween. I don't know. I guess if we went beyond Halloween and God wanted other things covered, then you'll see me for 403.
And there it is, that CYA moment. You can refer back to this later and say, well, of course, I didn't really know. I didn't know. It's just my job to announce the month, but not the day, even though I've been predicting the day for so many months, years, that I can't even recall how many times I have failed. But don't worry. Don't worry. Next time will be different. I'm just having fun here.
I don't want to say anymore. That never works out well.
You think? If only you actually learned that lesson.
Okay, but I see no way, none. It looks like I just fulfilled the last message.
Boy, you can't go more than about 3 or 4 seconds before you hop back on that bandwagon, can you? You are so addicted to that date setting. If you were a heroin addict, you would have probably sold everything you own, robbed from everyone you know and been destitute in the street years ago with this level of addiction.
Exactly as the last place in the Bible describes, I opened up the key things in Revelation. There are about 5 or 6 of them if you were counting just from Revelation. So Godspeed the hour, whatever it is and whichever day it is, and we know neither.
If only you actually believed that.